All right. We are live. One person's in already, so that's good. How's everybody doing tonight? Hopefully good. Oh, excuse me. Got something in my throat. Might take a second to work it out. Just going to work on tearing apart the governor for Connor's Super M here. That way we can blast the housing, clean all the components, and get it ready to go back on. Tom A is in the house. Lee Harris is in the house. How we doing, guys? Another day. Kind of a cold and dreary day here in Minnesota. Hunting and stuff is here. Logan's here. What's up, fellas? How we doing? I did not make it down to Le Sueur for the swap meet. I'd imagine Squatch and Connor are probably going to upload some videos from there at some point. So stay tuned to their channels for that. I would have gone, but Friday I had to work. Saturday was not an ideal day, although it was warm. Holy cow, this thing doesn't even have a gasket on it. Saturday was somewhat warm, but there was a lot of back and forth as far as weather goes. We had some thunderstorms in the morning. And we just weren't sure where the day was going to head, so we decided not to go. I'm doing good, a little tired. I haven't been sleeping well lately, but that's kind of how it goes. Tractor Hyatt's in the house. What's up, Hyatt? How we doing? Tim Rink's in the house. Just kind of working on tearing apart the governor here for Connor's Super M. All right, there we go. So, see here. Fortunately, stuck with a cheap pull-on chainsaw, so I may need to stop and head back to get a better saw. Yeah, sometimes that happens. Dang it! I should have brought a different side cutter so I can. So I can get that key out of the shaft. All right. Hats off to me for doing what I'm doing for Connor. Well, thanks, Tom. I appreciate that. Just trying to help him out and help his dad out. I kind of figured when we were getting into it that it was going to be a little more serious than what we anticipated. Originally it was thought that we were looking at just a timing issue, but clearly that's not the case. So all right. There's a little felt in here. So on the back side of this is the tube and shaft that connects the governor to the carburetor. So this little tab is what aligns with the throttle shaft inside the carburetor, and that bolts here. And then there's a little, I'll call it a dog leg or something here, or some type of, I don't know what the technical term for this joint is, but there's a piece of felt that goes inside here to seal it. So I probably won't disassemble this part any further. Maybe we'll see, but I really don't have a need to. So more than likely I'll just blast that as an assembly. Man, I don't know what this thing is in my throat, but I can't seem to shake it. You know, there's a nice steel farm boss sitting in the shop. Well, those steel chainsaws, they sure are nice pieces of equipment. Got to be careful not to get all this dirt all over the place. That's why I got this large piece of cardboard. You guys really can't see it, but it's here. It is nice to be able to sit at a table and work, though, I'll tell you that. Why is there 2 gaskets on here? That doesn't make sense. Some strange reason there's 2 gaskets on there, but got to be able to get to this. These governors aren't really that complicating. They're just tight working space. So it's a Poulon Wild thing. Dad borrowed it from someone, and they bought a new saw and didn't want it back, so it came to live here. Tom wants to know if I've got any news on the mysterious sores that I've had pop up on me, blisters and hives and everything else. The short answer is no. There's no news on that, but the good news is the doctors have tested me for just about everything under the sun, even herpes. Good news, I don't have herpes, but I don't have diabetes as far as I can tell. I don't have an autoimmune disorder, so everything's checking out good, but clearly there's something else that's not good that I'm dealing with, and we can't seem to figure it out. So luckily for now, the blisters and the hives have cleared up. So let's hope I can at least get through the summer, because they they referred me to a dermatologist, but I can't get in to see a dermatologist until September. They're all they don't have any appointments available. So now these internal pieces I'm not going to blast. I'm just going to clean them up, and everything looks good. The pins, there's not really much wear in the pins, so that's good. And yeah, it's looking pretty good. So And the weights aren't too bad. There's a little bit of wobble, but they're not bad. There's a chunk of something in here. I don't know what it is, but let's see. Just get caught up on the chat here. Oh, I just noticed I got to change my chat settings to live chat. So Hyatt wants to know what went through my mind when that screwdriver went through my hand. Well, the first thing that went through my mind was ouch. And then after that, you didn't see it in the video, but it started bleeding pretty good right away. And my thought then was to just get a paper towel and stop the bleeding. But I had to get that magneto done. I couldn't just stop, At least that's what was in my mind, was get the magneto done. So other than that, I really didn't know how deep it went until later on. It went in about right here between these two finger bones, and then it would have came out right between these two knuckles, but I pulled back just as it hit this top layer of skin. So if I clench my fist, you can see a white mark where the screwdriver blade hit the skin on the underside. So it would have went all the way through had I not pulled back on that on the screwdriver. So thankfully, I didn't do any serious damage. I missed all the tendons and bones and everything in my hand, which I was pretty surprised at. So sore for weeks. Well, that was last week when that happened, and my hand, the top side, there's still a ball of, I don't know what it is, if it's a ball of fat between these two knuckles. But yeah, it's still tender here on the top side, but the bottom side is fine. I don't have any pain in the bottom on the entry side, but the top side is still pretty sore. I've seen worse, I've put my hands through a lot over the years, and you guys are going to have to give me a second. I got to go get probably a hammer, and I got to get a side cutter so I can pull this key out. So give me a sec. I'll be right back. All right. I got to give a big shout out to Pete 359. I don't know if he's in here watching yet, but Pete sent me, he must have seen on one of my videos recently where I mentioned that I've never even had like a complete socket set. I've never bought a complete socket set. And not that it's a bad thing. I got a ton of random sockets. I've never had a complete set. And he sent me a socket set, which was very nice of him. And I actually have a plan for it. So, see if I can get this. This is going to be a little bit more difficult since I'm on the kitchen table, but what I need is a solid surface like a garage floor. I didn't really think this through. Dalen, yes, this is the Super M Governor. So Tom says he had a staple go through his thumb and into a 2x4 and had his thumb stuck to the 2x4 through the nail. Bang. No, thank you. I've gotten my hands in some bad spots before, but I've never put a staple through, that's for sure. Hey, Ryan, what's going on? I got to refresh my memory as to how this assembly comes out of here. I think I can just drive this out the front, if I remember right. Well, that's not working. I should have watched my governor video from the H to see how I took this apart. I know I got to take this shaft out, and this has got a small circlip on it. Don't put the screwdriver through your hand again, Kenny. Not when you're on YouTube Live. Dalen wants to know if we're getting any throttle response. No, we're getting throttle response. It's just I'm going to blast the housing, so I want to take all the components out of it. I don't want to get the bearings and everything full of blasting media. Since we've boiled and cleaned and blasted everything else, I don't might as well do the governor and the other small components that bolt onto the engine. So what is the name of the gentleman who is the curator of the museum in North Dakota? He usually joins us on Tractor Talk. Oh man. Jeff Weinstock? Is it Jeff? Maybe. Hold on. I got to scroll up in the chat here. Give me a quick couple of minutes to rip mine off the M. My governor is the reason why I'm not getting any throttle response. Yeah, it could be. This one's actually pretty nice. A lot of times these shafts, they can wear pretty significantly. Another thing that can wear where that shaft goes through the housing here, that casting can wear too. And I've actually drilled and put a bushing in these castings before, and it's really not hard at all. But I can't remember how the rest of this comes apart. I think I'm almost positive that This just drives out the front or presses out the front. But if it's a press fit, then there's no way I'm going to be able to get it out until I go over to Rudy's because I don't have a press. So, but if, we got pretty far in the teardown here. So, Brian H is in the house. What's going on, Brian? Yeah, Hyatt, I can't remember his name, and I feel terrible. I'm horrible with names. I don't know if it's because where I work, I see so many names all the time that I just, it goes in one ear and out the other. But I'm horrible with names. So now that's gonna bug me. Tom, working nights at the hospital, and the RN asked what he was doing back at the ER shortly after he left work. Yeah, Ryan, I'm with you. I'm not very good with names. So don't be offended if somebody sees me at a show and we've met before. I'll recognize your face, just like Ryan said, but you're gonna have to tell me your name again more than likely because I can't I can't retain that information. This has got to be okay. I'm gonna need to get a different screwdriver. All right, let's see if this one will work. Here we go. See, when everything's clean, it goes together a lot easier. So. And these have 2 needle bearings inside here. Now, how does this come apart? It's got to come apart somehow. And I don't think it has anything to do with. I don't remember having to pull this gear. But then I don't know if. can't remember. Let me go check something quick. Give me a couple minutes. Nate wants to know. Nate wants to know what the difference between an M and a Super M is. I've actually got a video on my channel about that, but I'll be right back. Give me a couple minutes. All right. When all else fails, get the manual. Excuse me, Noah. Okay. Oh, Brian, you're a little bit further than 10 miles south of me. I'd say probably 30 miles, but okay, let's get to the bottom of this governor here. I forgot to grab more gloves. I can't remember how it comes apart, so we'll just have to. No. 161. Here, let's see. Come on. Come on, pull. Let's see here. Okay, so the difference between an M and a super M, before I start reading all this, there's actually a few things. The most obvious is the M has a 248 cubic inch engine, the super M has 264 cubic inch engine. And then there's a stage 1 super M and a stage 2 super M. So the stage 1 super M has disc brakes, and the battery is mounted underneath the fuel tank, just like on an M. The stage 2 has live hydraulics, disc brakes, and the battery is now moved from underneath the tank to underneath the seat. And the reason that was moved is because the remotes and the reservoir for the live hydraulic system is underneath the tank on a stage 2 super M. So those are kind of the main differences. The grill is different on a super M. Instead of having the Farmall emblem, they use an international emblem. It's still the same grill, that just the holes for the emblem are in a different spot. There's probably some other very small differences, but primarily it's the engine, the braking system, and then on the stage 2 super M, it's a live hydraulic system. So this manual has seen better days. Well, it doesn't tell me how to remove this assembly, but I know I did it once before because I did it in the H. I just don't remember how. So I don't want to force anything, but I know I removed this once before. And there's a Welsh plug back here. And I'm almost positive that it comes out the front. But I'm not not 100% positive because the weights may or may not clear the casting. It can be a really tight fit. But there's only one way to find out, and that is to take it into the garage with you guys and See if we can't drive it out. Let's see. Maybe Squatch has a video on this. I don't remember if they disassembled the governor on their Super M or not. PTO and assembling the governor.
2.5 shaft.
Let's see. I can't remember if I showed it in the H video or not. Logan's talking about building a puller out of an H. You know, I talked to a guy, I can't remember if he was building an H or an M, but he was telling me that somehow they bored out the block of the M and they had to stagger the bores because they ran it a sleeveless block, pistons right on the cast iron basically of the block. And I can't remember if I want to say he made it like another 100 cubic inches bigger than a standard M, but I can't remember for sure. All right. So it looks like, from what I can see in Squatch's video here, did he pull out the Welsh plug? It doesn't look like he pulled the Welsh plug out, so. And the governor assembly itself is fully intact. The rotating assembly. So, and he just slides that. Well, it must just come right out the front then, which is what I thought. So we better go out to the garage and get this on a more solid surface to try and drive that out. Nate's in the house. Lori wants to know why I'm working on this on the dinner table. Well, that's because I can. Logan says, I want it to be hot enough to pull, but not hot enough to do farm work. Hey, that's perfectly good. Be careful with turbos. I've heard some horror stories of people throwing turbos on these, and, these engines weren't really built to take that kind of cylinder pressure. So, Zach says, I did a hot engine setup on a 450. Without the ignition on it, it'll still run. That's called dieseling, right? Logan, let's play my favorite game. I took this apart. Now, how the heck do I get it back together? Yeah, that's pretty much it. But I know how, most of this comes apart. I just couldn't remember how, if this has to be pressed out or if it can be driven out. But judging by Squatch's video, he still had the original Welch plug in the back. So I'm assuming I can just give it a few, I obviously need a more solid surface, which is why I'm going to take you guys to the garage in about 18.3 seconds. But we'll just set it on the vise, open the jaws of the vise up and give it a couple taps with my brass drift. Never use steel on steel when you're doing this stuff. Always use a brass drift or punch. and it should come right out. So hopefully. Let's see. All right, let's take the computer and head out into the garage. I'm gonna have to do this in 2 stages. I'll come get you guys in a second. Okay, let my dog in. And you guys are coming with me. All right, let's go. Whoa. See if we can't break something. Let's not do that. Hyatt says, when Kenny vanishes on camera, he's working on a tractor part. When Bork vanishes, he's taking a leak. Truth be told, the time I was gone for a couple minutes, I actually had to poop. Since you brought that up, hey man, when nature calls. Let's see, what's the best way to do this? I feel like there's a better way. And I'd really like to remove that Welch plug. I think we got progress. Oh yeah. Heck yeah. There we go. Just needed a more solid surface. There it is. And the assembly with the needle bearings. I don't know if you guys can see that, but there they are. And then the spring, of course. So, there we have it. We got an empty housing. We've got a rotating assembly. Let's check this bearing out here. Oh, that bearing is plenty good. Needs to be cleaned, but I can feel a little grit or something in there. What about this this bearing here. This bearing is fine. So that's good. Perfect. Well, that's all I really got for tearing this down. Now I just got to get a Ziploc and put everything in the Ziploc, but this stuff's all going to be cleaned up at Rudy's. And oh, wait a minute. One last thing before we're done. We got to pull this old seal out. Yeah, sorry, Rick. You've been one-upped. Do this down on the ground so I don't. Don't gouge myself. There we go. There's the old seal. And the hole that this shaft rides in doesn't look too terrible, which is good. So awesome. Well, good. We can just clean this thing up and put it back together. And that's one of the only things on this engine that won't need to be rebuilt. So, all right. Well, very good. Very good. Let's go get a Ziploc bag and put all the parts in it. Oh, my dog's still in the garage. You know, all this running around I do with you guys, you're kind of getting a grand tour of the house. Oh. Put that in the garbage. And this goes with this. I always try to reassemble the bolts into the appropriate holes that they go into. That way I'm not lost or losing anything, and we know exactly where the bolts go that came out of it. Those are easy because it's just the cover plate. Ready for the freezer. Perfect. Well, that didn't take as long as I thought it was going to take. So let me run out in the garage. I'm going to bring these tools out, and once again, I'll be back. You guys don't get out of hand now. All right. Well, now what do you guys want to do? I think we're going to take this meeting downstairs. Grab my power cord. That way I can be a little bit more comfortable. Get myself another soda. And save some money on electricity. Come on. Pretty sure she wants to go outside and run. So I'm going to let her do that. But not before I plug you guys in. Because I don't want you to run low on battery. It's my mom. All right. Here we are. Oh. Pay no attention to my mess of blankets. This is kind of my lounging area, so. Tractor Hyatt says, I'm very organized with parts and pieces. Well, I try to be, because it really sucks when you can't find something that you know was right here in front of you and it's not there anymore. Fresca time, that's right. New rubber sometimes costs more than the tractor it's attached to. Man, you ain't kidding. I just saw your comment. Hunting and Stuff says, thanks for not taking us in the bathroom with you. You're welcome. Faraway Farm says $950 for a 14-foot BWA John Deere disc. I'm guessing it's a disc. I had a JBA. It wasn't 14 foot, but I don't think it was anyway. Yeah, steel wheel tractors are nice for saving money on tires. But what does everyone think of the 3060 case from the pre-30 almond auction? $1.47 million. Well, I think that whoever got it is lucky, but I also think that sometimes people have too much money to spend on old tractors. But it's their money, so if they want to pay that much for something, then let them pay it. Personally, if I was going to spend $1.5 million, I'd commission Corey Anderson to build me a 150 horse case, but that's just me. But I don't know. I mean, like I said, it's their money and they can do what they want, and I'm not going to talk bad about it because it doesn't affect me, but it's kind of disheartening to see stuff like that, because there's guys like me that, I'm likely, never going to have that kind of capital, and I've always wanted to get into something like that, either a very large prairie tractor of my own or steam engine. So it's disheartening to see that these things, and it's only to be expected. The older these things get, the more expensive they're going to be, and the more expensive to buy, more expensive to fix, and it's just part of that hobby. The large prairie tractors and steam traction engines and stationary steam engines. It's not a cheap. It's not a poor man's hobby, that's for sure. So that's my personal opinion on it. It sucks for guys like me who have a dream of that, and it's just it is what it is. I couldn't even imagine like just being able to go and be like, here's 1.5 million, cash money. And I'm not broke. I just, I choose to spend my money on things like my kid. That's don't get me wrong. I don't have a lot of money either. I can pay my bills and I can buy stuff for my kid, and I think that's about as much as any parent would ever want, but or hope for anyway. So, Mr. Stubbs in the house. Logan, the 150 boiler that's on Corey Anderson's is brand new. Everything on that tractor is brand new. Um, the only things that aren't brand new on that tractor, I know for sure the serial number plate is the original off the original boiler. Corey does still have the original, the only remaining and original 150 boiler. It was on serial number 14666. It was shipped to, I believe, New Mexico in some type of a mine down in New Mexico, and eventually the engine was broken down and a bunch of pieces were scrapped off of it, but the boiler itself was used as a cattle waterer. So everything on that thing is pretty much brand new. He poured every casting from molten metal and built the wheels 100% from scratch and everything, and made all of the what am I trying to say here? Made everything. I mean, I'm gonna put a link in the chat below here if you guys want to take some time. You can read the story on the 150 case. So I'll actually put two links on, but this is right from Corey's website. Rudy's in the house. So I'm just pulling up a couple of websites you guys can. And this next article is written by George Hedke for Farm Collector magazine. He used to own the 150 boiler before Corey got it, and he kind of knew the whole history on it, as well as the history of most of the other. There was only 9 150s built, and he knows most of the history on the other 8. Rick wants to know what the latest is on finishing Connor Super M. Well, the crankshaft is in it. The main bearings obviously are in it. The sleeves are in it. Right now, we got to make some fold over locks. So I got to go get some steel for that. And then we are waiting on, let's see, fold over locks. Oh, I've got a piston ring grinding wheel coming for that, so we can size the piston rings to the bores, check the pistons and the bores themselves to make sure we got enough clearance, and then from there it's just a matter of putting in the rod bearings, checking the plastic gauging the rod bearings, make sure they're right, and put the pistons and rods in it and start closing it up, put the timing cover on, cylinder head, go from there. But right now it's just a lot of measurement, double checking things that we have to do before it just, the assembly gets finished. So, we got to get a camshaft key too. The new cam and cam gear didn't come with a camshaft key, which is kind of odd, but it is what it is. Rudy, I just bought a DU4 Bosch counterclockwise mag. Doesn't have a timing lever. Can that be added from a mag that does? Larry McDonald wants to know. Rick wants to know if I'm redoing the transmission on the Super M. Absolutely not. We're going to get the engine back together, put it in, and that's it. It's going back to Connors. So after that, I think Rudy and I are going to make some serious headway on the John Deere E engine. Rudy says, yes, Larry, the timing lever can be added anytime. So that's the hope anyway. Brent wants to know what I bought at the swap meet. I didn't go to the swap meet. I was kind of on the fence about it yesterday because the weather was, it's supposed to be pretty warm. I think we got up to about 70, 72, something like that. But the thunderstorms in the morning, it pretty much turned everything into a mud fest. And, bringing a 3-year-old to a swap meet that is a mud fest is kind of, it's a lot of work. So, yeah, not doing that. Logan, not making fun of Kenny, but I think rebuilding a trans is a little out of Kenny's league. Did you not watch the Suicide Awareness H? Because we did a complete 100% teardown on that tractor and rebuilt it. And I'm also going to tear apart my Case SC 100% and go through the entire transmission on that. So Larry says, Rudy, maybe in July when I go to the cities for training, I'll drop it off and get it freshened up. Not even sure if it works yet. Yeah, Logan, the Rolog was at, or the Rolog, the 150 was at Rolog in 2019 for the case feature. So it was unveiled in Andover, South Dakota in 2018, and then it was at Rolog in 2019 for the feature. So, and kind of going back to Logan's comment, I don't ever claim to be an expert on rebuilding anything. I just go with the flow and replace things as I find them in poor condition, and I teach myself along the way, and I'm I'm fortunate enough to be surrounded by knowledgeable people, especially people like Rudy and Squatch, and there's a lot of very knowledgeable people that have helped me along the way. I didn't learn all this just on my own, but it's you're not going to learn unless you try. So just keep going. What's the worst that can happen? You break something and you have to buy something else. You know. Kevin's in the house, coming in late, giving a big thumbs up. Appreciate it. Logan says we had a case CC, but it got sold about 10 or 12 years ago. Absolutely. I love those little tractors. They're pretty cool. They were the predecessor to the DC. So, Kevin, I'm telling you, it's worth the trip to see that 150. And Your best chance to see it, like I tell anybody, your best chance to see it is to go to Andover, South Dakota, to Corey Anderson's home show, and it's always going to be there. So that's your best chance to see it. It's a small show, but it's worth the trip because the environment, the atmosphere there is everybody's family, and it's just every time I see it. I mean, I've seen it every year since it's been running, and it just I'm awestruck by that thing every time I see it. So thanks, guys. Appreciate the. I'm just reading some of the comments saying that there's nothing out of my league, and I appreciate that. I'm sure there's plenty of things that are out of my league, but there's only one way to learn, and that's to do it and ask questions. And if you can't find the answer, keep looking because it's out there. Somebody put it together, so it comes apart and goes back together. Hyatt wants me to say hi to Monica. Hi, Monica. Hope you're doing well. Take care of Hyatt for me. Zach wants to know if the 150 has ever been a half century of progress. I don't believe so. The only shows it's been to outside of Andover, South Dakota is Bird City, Kansas. They did last year, and then Rolog was 2019. But it's a very difficult machine to haul. It's 75,000 pounds fully loaded. It's let's see, I can't remember exactly how wide it is. I want to say it's 14 feet wide. The rear end is 14 feet, I want to say. Yeah, 14 feet wide, 25 feet long, 75,000 pounds. Height to the top of the stack is 14 feet. So, it's a big machine. So it's not something you can just throw on a flatbed and haul. You got to get a extendable deck low boy and a breakaway low boy at that. So hunting and stuff. The 150 is the one in the video pulling the 21 bottom. Actually, it was pulling a 24 bottom, and then this last year it pulled a 36 bottom, I think. No, let me correct myself. It was 24 bottoms, and then this year they increased it to 44 bottoms. Now this fall they're going to pull 50 bottoms with it in Andover. So FBH wants to know, is fuel prices pinching anyone's plans for taking equipment to shows this year? I'll be honest with you. Yeah, it is for me because for one thing, I got to borrow a truck or, give people money to haul my stuff around. And right now, fuel prices are just like, I don't know if I'm going to bring the H to Rolog this year because I don't know if I can afford it. It's crazy. Was just about to ask if the 150 had ever been to Almalin, but it probably wouldn't fit in the showgrounds. Well, it'll fit in the showgrounds, but you won't be moving it much. I mean, that thing is very, very large. So, Lee, thanks for coming in. Appreciate it. Brent says nothing to it. Put a wide load sign on it, hit the Alberta turn signals, and go. Yeah. Yeah, Logan, it was, I was fortunate enough to ride on the plow platform when they pulled 24 bottoms the first year during the unveiling, and then last year when they pulled 44 bottoms. I did a variety of filming spots, but it man, I'll tell you, pulling 44 bottoms and being on the engine is really something. It's, even walking alongside it, you can feel the ground thumping from every stroke of that piston. Thump, 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 thump. You can feel it in your feet. And it's just incredible. The amount of torque that thing has is whoo. Gives me goosebumps. Rudy says I can help. Help with, oh, you must be talking about getting the H to a show. Yeah, I mean, I'm all for, you know something? Rudy's never been to Rolog, and Rudy's got to go to Rolog. Just because they don't have a swap meet, Rudy, doesn't mean you can't go. Hans is in the house. Hans from Tractor Hoarders. Good to see you, Hans. Yeah, Logan, that 24 bottom, it was barely even working when it pulled that. Zach, you might be talking about the 66 bottom that was pulled by the 4 oil pull tractors. They're actually kerosene fired tractors, but yeah, even still, 50 bottoms with one tractor is incredible. There's a video out there of somebody pulling, I want to say 60 bottoms or something like that, but it's with a new 4-wheel drive tractor that, is, it's not like watching the 150. That's what I'm saying. You know, anybody can, any new company could make a machine to pull 50, 75 bottoms if they wanted to, but the feasibility of it is just, you know, Rudy, we're going. Okay. We're going to Rolog. Kevin, I'm telling you, the more every time I see it, it's like the first time. It's just you have to see it to believe it, you know. Logan says, I take it a 50 bottom is a couple plows hooked together because I don't think a 50 bottom was ever made. Yeah, I want to say it's probably 4 or 5 plows hooked together. So Nick says, I was at Rolog when they did 50 bottoms behind 3 Rumleys and they had a hell of a mess on their first turn at the end of the field. I'll bet. It's not something you can turn around just easily. It doesn't work that way when you're pulling that much width behind you. Well, I know when they did a 44-foot or a 44 bottom pull in Andover, it was a 50-foot wide swath. So, take 44 or 50 divided by 44, and that should give you the approximate width of each furrow. So if we do that on the calculator machine, that's approximately 1.14 feet per furrow. The 66 bottom was pulled by 5 Rumleys. But yeah, I know the 44 bottom was a 50-foot wide path. Yeah, Warren, go see it. Like I said, your best chance is to go to Andover, and I'm telling you guys, this is the year. They're pulling 50 bottoms with the 150. This is the year to go see it. I mean, I'm sure they'll do it again. It's just first time's always the best, you know. Yeah, they did break the platform on the 44 because of the extra weight. Yeah, I remember they were out there welding some stuff together. Hans says no snow accumulation. They've been bouncing from 75 to 30 degrees, but you did see snowflakes today. We're in the same boat, Hans. Yesterday it was 70 degrees here, and today we're struggling to get 40, I think. Bob's in the house. Bob's redoing a Super A, and him and I have been exchanging emails quite a bit about it. And yeah, he had a bit of an issue with. I can't remember if it was the bearings were tightening up on the crankshaft or the pistons were too tight for the bores or whatever. But he's got it at the machine shop now, and he's working on getting it fixed. So learn as you go and ask questions. That's the best way to do it. Yeah, Tom, you're right. Those were those setups were made for the big prairies in Montana and up in Canada and the Dakotas where you're plowing a mile stretch at a time back and forth. So when is Rolog this year? It is Labor Day weekend, and that would be it's always Labor Day weekend. Rolog is always over Labor Day. So that will be Friday, September 2nd through Monday the 5th. Uh-oh. It says my connection is unstable. Hopefully you guys can still hear me. Hope so. Zachary Heidi, where is that at? Rolog is in Rolog, Minnesota, but the home of the 150 case is in Andover, South Dakota. So two experts on mags. I have an AB33 with intermittent weak spark and ideas of or direction of what to look for. Well, Kevin, to tell you the truth, I am not the mag expert. That's Rudy. But weak spark, I mean, could be weak magnets, could be, condenser, coil, stuff like that. FBH is out of here. Thanks for stopping by, man. Appreciate it. As the song goes, I need 40 acres to turn this rig around. Yeah, that's about it. Brian's taking off. Appreciate it. Thanks for stopping by, Brian. The AB33 is not a good magneto. Straight from the expert himself. Brent says he's just hoping to make Nowthen. I hear you. Luckily, Nowthen's only about 13 miles from me, so if I have to, I'll just drive a tractor there. But all the club members, Connor and Cody and a bunch of other guys, Pete and Paul, and one way or another, we end up getting our equipment there. So not too worried about Nowthen. Almaland, I don't know if I'll I mean, I'm sure I'll go, but there isn't really much for me to do there, you know. You park your tractor and you walk around and that's about it, but Logan says you don't need a truck and trailer when you have road gear. Yeah, but Rolog is 4 hours by truck from me, so can you imagine taking a tractor at 15 miles an hour to go almost 200 miles? I'd have to leave on Tuesday to make it by Wednesday or by Friday. Rudy says those AB-33s when they were brand new, they were weak. By now, they're not good. Crazy Dave's in the house. What's up, Dave? Now then's a good walk from Princeton, but I'll make it if I leave by midnight. Hyatt wants to know if I was ever in the FFA or if I ever participated in the Dello Tractor Restoration Contest. No, I was never in the FFA. Part of the reason is my school district didn't offer the FFA. So Brent wants to know what came out of the skin rash. We don't know. All my tests came back normal, and yeah, I just can't get into a dermatologist until September. So right now I'm just living on a prayer that it doesn't come back. So, oh, Nala wants to come in. Okay. Rudy says, let's get the John Deere E engine running and we can show it at the Almelin. Sounds good to me. Let's get her done. Logan says, I got an M with a V8 and road gear, so I'll make Almelin. Well, that's a little different. Jess is in the house, wants to know how my hand is. Hand is fine. See that little mark right there? That's where it went in. You guys probably can't see it on camera, but let's see. Right here is where it would have come out. There's a little white line. I don't think you guys can see it, but that's where it hit my skin on the underside. So it's fine. Hans would have said I would have loved to do FFA too, but had his kids in 4-H for a few years. They liked it, and he thinks he liked it more. Jake's in the house. What's up, Jake? Here's the hand. I just showed it to everybody, but that's the hole right there. So M1 Fixer wants to know if I went to the sewer swap meet. Nope. Didn't go this year. It was the weather was too questionable, and for me to bring my 3-year-old down and walk around in a mud fest pushing a stroller. No, sorry, not gonna do it. Then I'd have to bring her home and give her a bath because she'd be covered in mud. Because you know as well as I do, there's no way she'd be staying in that stroller. Nala, hey, that'll wake you up. Nala, probably a deer in the yard. Wasn't bad at all. I would drive it that far again in a heartbeat, but I was hauling it and lost control of my pickup after blowout and rolled the trailer in the ditch and messed it up. Oh boy, that's an ugly, ugly accident. Think about the furthest I've ever driven a tractor is from Domino's place to my townhouse that I lived in before buying this house. And that took quite a while, a little over an hour and a half. But how are ground conditions in Minnesota? Is it going to be ideal plowing conditions in the next few weeks? Well, the frost isn't out of the ground yet, but I would assume within a couple weeks it'll probably be close to being ready. So Dave might know. He's probably paid more attention to the ground than I have. So Dave, do you know what the ground conditions are as far as plowing goes? Dave says another great mag video. Appreciate it. The M has what we call a V7 3/4 because it's worn out and maybe makes 110 horse. Hey, it still runs. May have to contact you when I get at the Eisman mag for my Cat 60. Heck yeah, bring it on out. Rudy will get it shined up working like a new penny. Sounds like my alarm. 2 GSDs and a Belgian Malamute. Yeah, I hear you. It's funny because the Mastiff we had before, Nala, my other Mastiff Roxy, she would not bark hardly ever. But Nala, if she sees a squirrel or a deer in the yard, she goes absolutely berserk. Did it in 3.5 hours. Tractor liked the workout. Should get it in my new shop and fix it back up. Heck yeah, get it in there. Paul, I think you should haul Marty down for plow day. Worst comes to worst, you could give tractor rides to the kiddos. We've got some of our corn in the ground in northwest Wisconsin, but the tractors kept getting stuck, so we stopped trying. Yeah, it's been really wet this spring, which is good because we need it, but at the same time, Dave says, if you're talking to me, not sure if you're thinking Connor's much more sandy soil than ours. Yeah, Connor does run pretty sandy soil, but I'm more concerned about the frost and where it's at as far as coming out of the ground. I'm not a farmer, so I don't know. I don't know when. How much frost has to be out of the ground before you can plow and everything like that. So Kevin's off. Appreciate it. Thanks for stopping by. Rex says, I'll be surprised if the ice is out for fishing opener up here. Rex, where are you at? I didn't catch where you were at. Because next weekend I'm supposed to do docks and lifts on Lake Osakis on Saturday, and we're not sure if the ice is going to be off the lake. Hasn't even started changing color yet. So yeah, Dave, I know you're done with the farm, but I wasn't sure if you knew any information on where the ground status was at. Clutch is really bad. You heard the chatter at now then. Yeah, but if it's already bad, you know, what's a little putting around in a farm field? Okay, you're west of Duluth. All right. Well, yeah, the ice is off on the lakes around me too, but I know just from talking to the guys that I do the docks and lifts with on this resort, I know that the ice is still on Osakis because I just got the email yesterday saying probably not going to be doing docks and lifts this coming Saturday, the 30th. But they said the shoreline is barely even melted yet, and the ice hasn't even changed color. You know how it turns that dark gray when it's about to break up and melt, dark grayish white, you know. I can't remember what is wrong with the torque tube on your Cub, Paul. Is there a crack on one of the bolt flanges, or is it the housing itself that's cracked? I talked to a friend in Miltona right by Osakis, and she said a lot of ice still there. Oh yeah, I can believe it. You know, up by Rex, there's a there's a Facebook group I'm a part of. It's called what is it, North Shore Vibe or something like that. It's pretty much people that have a passion for the North Shore of Lake Superior. And somebody had measured the ice somewhere outside of Tofty on on an inland lake, and they still had 42 inches of ice. So that's a lot of ice. In April, they still had 42 inches. Late April at that. I need to take our 1465 Oliver down to my grandma's place and help her put their dock in next weekend. Top two bolt flanges at the trans poorly brazed back on. Yeah, I mean, I could see that being an issue, but yeah, I don't think I've ever seen this much ice this late in the year. You know, it's insane. And it seems like the winter just doesn't want to break. I mean, here we are struggling to get to 40 degrees and now it's going to drop back into the 20s here. I mean, we could get more snow, you know, and not that it's abnormal to get snow in late April or early May. We've gotten snow all the way into June, but that's just a flurry. It's not like it's going to stick. But we could actually get snow, like a foot of snow if we really wanted to. So Minnesota Oliver and Deer's in the house. What's next for the Relics SC? Ben has to send us the magneto, and then we have to. I'm going to take the magneto over to Rudy's, and he's going to help me, just tune it up and make sure it's working good. And then let's see what's next. Clean off the manifold surfaces, get the manifold mounted up so it's secure and proper, and then rewire it. And what else? Got to do some stuff with maybe some oil lines. And after that, it's pretty much ready to try and start. So, magneto, manifold, and some wiring. You know, not much left before we have a runner, hopefully. you know. I'm so sick of this weather. I'm not. I just wish the wind would die down. I feel like we've had a 30-mile-an-hour wind for a month. It's just been constant. That's what I'm sick of. I can live with it being 45 degrees. It's the wind. That's a shit show and a half. There was one year when the tractor died in the water and the neighbor had to pull it out with his truck. Yeah, that's never good. See, where we put docks and lifts in, we got about a 12-foot bank that's all boulders. So we just pick up the docks and lifts with a lull crane and set them down in the water. So Richard, Old Farm Junk's in the house. How's it going? Been seeing you post a lot of auction stuff lately. Suppose it's springtime, so it's auction season. I figure we could probably let this go till 8:30, and then I'm gonna take off for the evening. So Rex, yeah, I think the wind started around January 1st and hasn't stopped since. Ain't that the truth? I mean, I don't ever recall a a constant wind like we've had the last month to a month and a half. It's relentless. I'm surprised my flags are still hanging on out front. Richard says, can't buy anything. It costs too much. Yeah, I can believe it. Was that you that bid that 3060 case up to $1.5 million? Richard? Yeah, it's been wet here too, Richard. Yeah, I hear you, Paul. I mean, I got more sticks in my yard right now. I could probably build a cabin just with sticks that are down in my yard. I've had enough of the wind. That's for sure. Just responding to a couple messages quick here. Bonfire at Kenny's tonight? Yeah, if you want to light the whole swamp on fire. Richard bought a new truck. What'd you pick up? When I got the tractor up to my grandma's garage, I found out that it had somehow sucked water into the cylinders and quit. Well, you're not supposed to, it's not a submarine. You're not supposed to. A year newer than the old one. You talking about your old, okay, 93 Chevy. Tried and true. Can't go wrong with an old Chevy square body. I've had to leave the weight on the trash can lid because I'm sick of chasing it around the yard. Yeah, I know. Farm Work, Michigan. Hello, how you doing? Rudy, take care. I will see you tomorrow after work. We got to get that H4 finished up and the J4 Cub mag. So I need ring terminals. So if you get a chance, get your ring terminal drawer out of your trailer. Logan, they're all square bodies to me. 73 to 87, 88 to 98. They all have a square look to them. That's just how I look at it. Richard said he bid $2,100 on a Farmall H yesterday. Well, hopefully it was in good shape. Yeah, 87 and 91 crew cabs and Suburbans too. Yep, the 3/4 ton pickups and 1 ton pickups didn't switch to the 88 to 98 style until 91. So Nate wants to know if I had a John Deere A. Yes, I did. Had to sell it back in 2020 along with 3 other tractors. But yeah, I had a John Deere A. That was the one I converted to an unstyled A. And then I had a 28 John Deere D, 44 Minneapolis Moline ZTU, and a 38 Farmall F20. Paul says he needs to get another K5 Blazer. You know, those are pretty cool trucks. Fold over locks. Some of them you can buy. Some of them it's much more economical to make. But yeah, it's not a big deal to make fold over locks. They're pretty simple. Just a few pieces of steel with holes drilled into them. So Hans sending me messages. You can see in my next video. Oh, the H. Okay, either that or your truck. Either one. Probably both. But yeah, not too hard to make fold over locks. Usually you can cut the shapes by using a cutoff wheel or a Dremel or something, and then some of them you can even make with a tin snips if they're made out of thin enough metal. But some of the thicker ones can be a challenge. The special one is the fold over locks for the flywheel, because they have they're a piece of strap steel or a rectangle piece of steel with 2 holes, but then one side is curved to go around the pilot bearing for the clutch shaft. I've been chipping so much wood, I've temporarily converted the farm truck to a chip truck. Yeah. Well, when you're all done at your place, come on over to mine because I got some wood that needs to be chipped up. Bob, thanks for stopping by and keep me updated on that Super A. Oh, I got a new piece coming for the H too. Actually, it's already here. Rudy probably saw it hanging up in his shop. But I got an original gasoline starting tank for the H. So took care of blasting that and priming and painting it over at Rudy's. So we'll have to mount that on the H, and we'll have a nice original starting tank. That way we don't just have the hole in the hood. We got something to fill it now. Larry, yeah, the H was originally a distillate, and being a 42, I'm pretty convinced it came out on steel wheels because, and the reason I say that is because the front wheels that were on it when I got it were cut off steel wheels. The centers were cut offs, and then they welded. They actually bolted some Chevy truck rims to them, and then the rear rims were mismatched. So one was kind of that curved drop center, and then the other one had kind of the, it's not a double bevel, but it had a double step in it. You know what I mean? So having mismatched rear rims and cut off front rims tells me it probably had steel wheels on it when it came out, especially in 1942, because that was kind of the peak of the rubber shortage, was 42 and 43. Am I going to run distillate in it? No, I have no plans on running kerosene or distillate. Kerosene's like freaking $6 a gallon. What media do we use when we blast the parts to make them look so good? It's a crushed glass, so it's a lot less abrasive or invasive than your heavier grit sand. There's some guys that use crushed walnut shells, and that gives an even shinier finish. Um, and I think there's even something else that people blast with that's even finer than crushed walnut shells, but we use crushed glass media. And it works great. The only thing it doesn't work great for is if somebody's got a lot of gobbed on paint, like layer upon layer upon layer. I usually take the part to the wire wheel first and then, remove as much of the paint that I can and then take it into the glass cabinet or the blasting cabinet. Yeah, Paul says he used glass bead and crushed walnut shells to make aircraft gauges. Yep. It turns out a really nice finish on that stuff. So, my uncle's old M that oh, never mind. Logan deleted the message. I need a starter tank for my 43. Nala, what is going on out here? There's not even an animal out here, dog. I don't get it. There's literally no animals out there. No, you're not going out there because I don't know what you're gonna chase. Could be a turkey too. We got a ton of turkeys out here, but what does it cost typically for you or Rudy to restore a mag? Well, that all depends on the mag. Some mags, like Rudy's done magnetos that are very rare and very expensive to repair, and they could be anywhere from $500 to $1,000. Or you could do a very simple mag or a common mag, like for a Farmall H, and I think Rudy sells them for a little bit under $300 with an exchange. So my H does not have the steel shift knob, but somebody did send me a steel shift knob for it. The only issue is the ones with the steel shift knobs have a threaded shaft. Mine doesn't have a threaded shaft, and since I had mine chrome plated, I really don't want to thread the shaft because, You know as well as anybody that as soon as you start chipping or peeling chrome, the rest of it's going to follow. So I have a 1940H that's missing its starting tank, but I'll probably just fill the hole in the hood. Yeah, that was a possibility for me, but I just figured I'd find a starting tank at some point and then put it on, and that's what I'm doing. So I'm not going to run a line for it though, because then I'd have to get a new sediment bowl and everything else that has the two inlets. So it's just going to be on there to fill the hole. My uncle's old 39M that we nicknamed Bare Bones came out factory on steel. Had no PTO, no belt pulley, no hydraulics, no starter or lights or battery. That would be bare bones as it could get. A few weeks back, I took my M carb off and did a field cleaning on the back of my tailgate. It did nothing. Gonna need more than that. Think I need a manifold gasket too. Well, send it on out to me. I'll run it through the blasting cabinet and we'll clean it up real nice for you. Rudy's already aware of it, so you and I will talk. If you don't want to send it, that's fine. I get it. If you want, you could just send me the castings, and I can just run the castings through the blast cabinet and send it back to you. No, Brent, I think the cast steel knobs came out sometime in 1942 and went all the way into 44. Rex, I can get you some dimensions on a tank if you need. I'm just reading through the comments here. Hans says he'll send it one of these days. No big deal. I just want to help you out, You helped me out when I was out there by showing me a good time with your tractors and everything. So, all right, let's go back outside. Come on. You want to go chase strange animals? Go ahead. It never fails when I film or when I do my narration part on these Magneto videos. My dog always goes and drinks out of her water and wants to eat out of her food dish. So I'm sorry if you guys hear the crunching and slurping in the background from my dog in those videos, but it seems like that's when she wants to eat. So tractor orders, thanks for saying that. Museum has a 30 Massey that the needle is worn enough it doesn't shut the fuel off. I sanded it and was good for a day. Next time I used it, it wanted to flood. Yeah, once those needles and seats start to get wore out, that's pretty much it for them. Nate, thanks for stopping by. It's always good to hear from you. Don't be a stranger. Bare Bones was the first tractor to ever kick back on me when I tried to hand crank it. The only tractor I've ever had kick on me was the Case SC. And believe it or not, the handle pulled out of my hand, which is exactly what it was supposed to do, but it stayed engaged in the, it didn't kick out of the crankshaft pulley. and when that handle pulled out of my hand, I kind of fell forward, and when it swung back around, this is where it hit me right in the side of the face. So that didn't feel good at all. Larry says you got to run that thing near wide open and it'll still smoke black. The only thing that would start when I needed. Yeah, sometimes you got to go with what you got running. Paul, take care. Thanks for stopping. And Connor stopped by and dropped off that item. So that is taken care of and will be added to the collection, so to speak. I got to get the M fired up one of these days. I haven't even started that thing since I don't know, October probably. I've had an Avery 1428 kick me. I set the crank back on the mag tripped. And I had a 2744 Twin City kick on me that damn near threw me to the ground. Has a real long handle. Yeah, I'll tell you, man, when they kick, it can be painful. It can definitely be painful. I got people in the Relics Facebook Messenger sending messages. Well, we got Connor's governor apart, so we can blast that, and then we got a few other parts that we can blast, and definitely excited to get that thing back together, though. It'll be nice to just be done with it and have a clean garage for the most part. And, I wanted to finish insulating and sheetrocking the garage so I can heat it. Rick says, guess you didn't plow any snow with the M this winter. Do you have wheel weights on it? I do have 3 sets of wheel weights on it, but no, I didn't plow any snow this winter because every time we got snow, it was in small increments and it wasn't really enough it wasn't worth firing up the M to plow it because there just wasn't that much snow. Ultimately we had, when you look at the winter snow total, we had an average amount of snow, which is about 50 inches, but it would come in small increments. We get 2 inches here, 3 inches there, an inch, 3 inches. It was nothing. We didn't get any snowstorms here where I'm at this winter that were a foot. And we usually always get one that gets 10 to 12 inches, and we didn't get any this winter. So, Dave, take care. Appreciate it. Thanks for stopping by and look forward to the next time. PK says, learned about Marvel Carb this weekend. Good. Marvel Carbs are pretty simple carburetors and good ones to learn on. A friend of mine was really scared after that Twin City backfired. He asked, how can I knowingly try and crank it? I said, I always expect it to kick. That way you stay careful and crank it correctly. Well, that's a good way to look at it. Complacency is what gets people hurt. Brent says 171 inches of snow away from the lake here, and there's still 71 inches on the ground. Yeah, I had a friend, the friend that did the machining on the Case SC wheel for me last week. He's a big snowmobiler, and I love snowmobiling. I got rid of my machine a few years ago, but he said he was up near, I want to say Isabella, and he said, yeah, there's 5 to 6 feet on the ground in most places, up away from the lake. So lots of snow up there yet. Rex says every time we got snow up here it was 4+ inches. Yeah, we barely got anything over 6 inches in a single snow event. Hyatt says, Larry, I bet you've handled some rare tractors at that museum. What's your favorite? How's the Waterloo boy doing? Tom wants to know if I rebuild governors. I mean, I can. I don't have any abilities to where I can machine stuff, but I can rebuild them. If you need new bearings put in it, and I can disassemble it, clean it, put new bearings in it. And what I've done with worn weights, if they're still salvageable, I've drilled out the pinholes, the holes for the pins and the weights, and I've installed bushings in them, and then I've used some type of it's kind of a special screw. It's hard to explain without showing you, but I've used a special screw instead of using roll pins in it to reinstall the weights in the rotating assembly, and it's worked. I haven't had any issues with it. So, but if you'd like, you could send me your H governor, and I can go through it. I wouldn't ask for any money to do it, except for the parts. But I don't really. Rudy does have a mill, but we don't have. I've never used it, and I'm not proficient with it. I could, if I had to, I could mill something, but I would need some guidance. And he just got his mill too, so he still has to get some tools for it. But Larry says my favorite is a 3570 Minneapolis. The feeling when it starts is a blast. The rarest we got is a Hackney Autoplow. Currently, it's the only one that runs. Another complete one was found a year ago. Yeah, those 3570 Minneapolis, man, they are quite the machine. PK, no, it wasn't a shoulder screw. It was a long shaft that was threaded internally, and then a screw that threads in to it from the other side. So one side had like a screw head on it with a shaft that was threaded internally, and then the other side was just like a Phillips head screw. So you just thread them together, and then I put Loctite on them so they don't come apart. But it worked great. I mean, it wasn't the correct fix. The correct fix would be put new weights in it and new pins, but I didn't. I don't even know if you can get brand new weights for those anymore. Probably not. But that's what I did, and it worked great. So found out this winter the Hyder tractor we got is one of Two 815s remaining. That's a rare one. Talked to the owner that owns the other one. He wanted pics to compare to his. I think that's a sex bolt. Yeah, I'm not sure what it's called, but let's see if I can. Yeah, I was just walking through the hardware section at a store trying to figure it out, how I was going to get it to work, and then I found that and I'm like, well, this will probably work great. And then I just installed the bushings and yeah, it did work great. So sex bolt or barrel bolt is what they're calling them on the websites, on the Google site. Dang, that auto plow is the same year the Titanic was finished. That's awesome. I'm a big Titanic enthusiast too, in case you guys didn't know. I really love not only the story of the Titanic, but the engineering side of it, and the fact that it was a hand built massive machine. Just I find it completely just amazing. But Brent's out. Don't worry, my hands are doing okay, and I'll heal, and I'll try not to shove a screwdriver through again. I'm gonna look up this Hackney auto plow now. Oh, that is a really cool machine. So, how does it steer then? Is it the rear wheel that turns and that's how it steers, Larry? Because it looks like it's got a single rear wheel, and then the steering wheel is mounted forward of the rear wheel. So it must be you must turn the steering wheel, and that's connected to either a cable or chain or gear system that turns the rear wheel so that swings the back end around. That must be how it operates. If I ever make it to Pigeon Forge, Tennessee, there's a pretty cool Titanic attraction. Man, I would love to go see it. And I think there's a Titanic museum in Vegas I'd love to go to. And what's really cool is the one and only time that Titanic's whistles has ever been sounded since they were recovered were here in Minneapolis. That was back in the 90s, I think. But there's a really, really cool video on Facebook regarding the restoration of those whistles. And they were actually sent to a steam whistle repair facility in Wisconsin when they recovered them. Richard, thanks for stopping by. We look forward to the videos as always. Tom says Titanic was cutting edge at the time. No one foresaw multiple compartment breaches. If they had and bulkheads went all the way up, she would have survived. Yeah, I think there's more to the story, though. There's some interesting things that were discounted during the after action review or investigation, whatever you want to call it, after the sinking. There was some pretty interesting things that were revealed And I think that those elements played a big role in the Titanic sinking as well. So if you look it up on YouTube, type in Titanic's fatal fire, and you'll find it interesting, these different elements that were involved. Yeah, I'm just reading through the comments about the museum and stuff, the Titanic Museum, and now I gotta look. Gotta get on the old Google and see what's out there. Oh wow, it's like a scale model that's a building, basically, right? Looks like they have a replica of the grand staircase, and can you actually go out and like walk on the deck of the scale model here? Yeah, Dave, I'm excited to see that hider up and running. I know you're probably a ways out from having a runner, but Rick says I heard they used the wrong type of rivets on the Titanic. Um, I guess that's probably debatable. They used wrought iron rivets, which at the time wasn't the best quality. They could have used steel rivets, but they chose to use wrought iron. So yes, they are a little bit weaker, but there's so much investigating you can do on the Titanic and how it sank and some of the things that were discounted, and it's really interesting, especially the business and financial aspects of White Star Line, and um, just very it makes you question what really happened. You know what I mean? So it's a very interesting thing when you really start diving deep into it. Well, when I'm referencing this documentary called Titanic's Fatal Fire, yeah, Tom, follow the money big time. It's very interesting to to see what happened in the investigation afterwards. But um, Hyatt wants to know if I think Captain Smith of Titanic was at fault, or could he have done anything differently? Um, I think he knew something, but I don't know. And there's also a world element in this too, because at the time, like when you look at what's going on today in our world as far as politics and banking systems and all that stuff goes, at the time, John Jacob Astor and Guggenheim and all those guys, they were very, very strongly against a central banking system like the Federal Reserve. And it's just very interesting that all these guys were on the same ship that ultimately led to them perishing. So it's very interesting. You know what I mean? It's just a weird coincidence. And I'm not a conspiracy theorist. I just, it's one of those things like We'll probably never know the truth, just like the JFK assassination. We'll probably never know the truth, but it is what it is. Hope to have mine running this summer. Supposed to be like 25 Ds left and have half of those run or are close to it. Dang, I didn't know it was that short. Yeah, he wanted to slow it a bit through the ice field, but gosh, what was the guy's name? Was he the president of White Star Line or something? Not the president, but he was like the right hand man to the president. Chief financial whatever he is. Bruce Ismay, that's his name. Um, he insisted that they stay full steam ahead. But what's interesting, like I was talking before, the Titanic had a coal bunker fire before it even left Belfast. And they had been trying to extinguish the fire in that coal bunker for the entire trip. And they were shoveling coal into the furnaces as fast as they could to try and extinguish this fire. So there was some rumor that they were going to run out of coal before they even reached New York. And that would have been a huge embarrassment for White Star Line, especially on the main voyage or the maiden voyage of Titanic. And they were already hurting financially because Cunard, their competitor ship line, was really beating them because they had the fastest ships in the world. So Titanic's or White Star Line's answer was to make the most luxurious and the biggest. But they there's a lot of controversy that surrounds the sinking of Titanic. It goes far deeper than just hitting an iceberg. Larry says this link is a video that was featured about the museum and the Hackney and Minneapolis were talked about. If it asks for an email, just put one in and you won't be charged. Larry says, I'm in the video. Now, Dave, I don't want to bug you, but there's a guy that may or may not have a smile if he gets an opportunity to drive a hider. I'm just saying. Yeah, it's not going to be a cheap fix for that project, but it sure will be cool when it's done. Just what you were telling me on the phone the other day with all the aluminum and everything else. I mean, that's crazy. Exactly, Tom. There was a miners' strike and coal was in short supply. So, it's very interesting. I think, if you're into the Titanic, I really encourage you guys to watch all the documentaries you can and do some digging because there's some very interesting stuff out there. Even some of the testimonies from, some of the firemen that survived that were on the Titanic and everything else. Um, there was something that was hidden. Is all I'm saying. So some people think that White Star Line they they directed the ship to head into that ice field at full steam because they thought, well, if we hit the iceberg and it sinks, then we'll be able to collect the insurance money and we won't have to worry about it. So we'll see. like I said, we'll never know. It's sitting at the bottom of the Atlantic and almost 13,000 feet of water. So, and all the people that were ever on it are all dead now. So we'll never know. But it's just very interesting. And then, speaking of shipwrecks, the Edmund Fitzgerald here, look, we're already 10 minutes past when I said I was going to shut this off, but you guys got me going. But the Edmund Fitzgerald is another one that's shrouded in mystery. And, if you watch an interview of I want to say it's Captain Bernie Cooper was the captain of the Arthur Anderson, which was sailing about 10 miles behind the Fitzgerald during that storm. And even Captain Cooper says there's no way that the hatch covers let that much water in, even if you took all the clamps off. There's no way, because the hatch covers weigh tons and tons. So he's convinced that the Edmund Fitzgerald struck bottom on a shoal and was taking on water that way, or that it hit some rogue waves. And since it was taking on water already, he thinks that the rogue waves, as it was rolling the deck like this up them rogue waves, he thinks that as it came down, on the backside of one of those rogue waves, that all that water shifted towards the front, and one large rogue wave came over the top, and it just pushed itself into the bottom of Lake Superior, and twisted it in half and broke up. So, but the Edmund Fitzgerald is another one I'm infatuated with. I mean, I don't know if you guys can see that very well, but that's the Edmund Fitzgerald right there. So, Rick wants to know, what's the name of the song I use at the end of my videos? It's called, I downloaded it off of YouTube's free music archive for content creators. I think it's called Back to the Woods. Yeah, Back to the Woods by Jason Shaw is the name of the song. Tom says he remembers hearing the Fitz sinking firsthand. Yeah, that had to be a pretty unbelievable television and radio broadcast. Dave says, yes, Kenny, you can drive it. Help me get it on some belt work at a show this summer. I'd be more than happy to help. 6 Fathom Shoal was near where she went down. Yes, it was. And according to experts, 6 Fathom Shoal was also not mapped very accurately. So that's what Captain Cooper thinks happened to the Fitzgerald. He thinks that they struck bottom on 6 Fathom Shoal, and then he thinks that in combination with the rogue waves that the Arthur Anderson hit is what caused the Fitzgerald to sink. The combination of taking on water from striking bottom and then the rogue waves eventually swallowing her up. Hyatt, yeah, I've seen that picture. I believe it's a Farmall. Oh, I want to say it's like the little airplane tug version of a Farmall H, I think. But yes, I've seen that picture. What's going on, Kenny? Bibster's in the house. Not much. I gotta be out of here by 9 o'clock, guys. 15 minutes and I gotta go. So, like I said, I haven't slept much this last few days, and I need to catch up on sleep before I go back to work tomorrow. So. Okay. Randy says, "What's going on? I tune in and you're talking about the Titanic. Am I on the right channel?" Well, old iron. We got on the topic of it and talking about the Titanic, the Edmund Fitzgerald, and there's tractor talk and ship talk going on all at the same time. So Paul says, "Been surfing and listening. Pete and I also remember the Fitz sinking. Dad had his little AM radio on the old neighbor all night that night." Rex says, "I thought that the fact that the railings were gone had to do with the ship hitting bottom." Yeah, that could be. Hyatt wants to know when Steam School is. That is Father's Day weekend. So not too far away. And yes, I'm bringing my cameras. There is a West guy who does a lot of videos on Great Lakes ships. Yeah, I think I've seen some of them actually. And yes, Larry, you're right. I started because I said the Hackney is a 1912, and Kenny said it's the year of the Titanic. Yes, sir, that's where it started. But fitting for this talk because the Case 150 is known as the Titanic of tractors. Let's see. Lost Dad 16 years ago, so really don't follow it anymore. I'm sorry to hear that, Tom. But let's see. Father's Day weekend, it would be the 18th and 19th, I think, of June. Yep. June 18th and 19th. Looking forward to it too. See, there she is. She's eating, she's drinking. See? It's always during the video. I better turn my alarm on before I forget here. And those not at Steam School should come down to Heritage Park in Forest City, Iowa for an early Steam show. Absolutely. I've never been to Forest City either, and I'd like to go sometime. Sorry, I was answering a question from Connor. That's what is awesome about these old tractors. What was going on in America when these tractors worked the fields? Yeah, I know. It's just, it takes you back just wrapping your hands around the steering wheel, thinking about all the stuff these tractors have seen. You know, some of them, World War One, World War Two, the Depression, Korea, Vietnam, 9/11. You know, the list goes on and on and on, and these tractors are still here working. Almost gives you a connection to the guys that, you know, made us who we are today, basically. Kenny, if you can, get some time on an engine with Kevin Poncelet at Steam School. I'll try. I'd probably know him if I saw him, but Kenny, does your SC predate the Pearl Harbor attack? Yes, it does. Pearl Harbor was December 7th, 1941. And my Case SC was built January 28th, 1941. Funny thing about it, my retirement date is December 7th, 2041, the 100th anniversary of Pearl Harbor. How cool is that? Tom says Dad was 2 weeks shy of 82. Well, that's, you know, we don't want to see anybody go, but we could all be so lucky to make it to 82, you know. That's the way I kind of look at it, you know. Dave says he'll be at the National Heart Par Oliver show. Where is that at? Tom says, let's see, good friend and one niece also have birthdays of December 7th. That's cool. The countdown is on. Yeah, only 19 years to go. 30 years in a prison is long enough for anybody. Connor's running into a little trouble. Oh, it's in Forest City, Iowa. Huh. Okay, then. It's the final countdown. Don't worry, I'm not going to quit my day job. Sounded like my dog was puking for a second. Yeah, Tom, I'm sorry you're having knee problems. It's not fun. Knee, back, shoulder, very, very uncomfortable stuff to deal with. Hopefully, they figure something out with the MRI. But I'm going to start saying my goodbyes here because it's 8:57, and once again, we stayed longer than we said. So hope you guys all take care, and hope you enjoyed this 2.5 hour session of tractor talk and ship talk and everything else. And it's always fun. I know it was short notice, but I was on my way home, and I'm like, you know what? I don't have anything to do tonight. Might as well do tractor talk. So appreciate you all tuning in and having fun and good conversation. And hopefully the weather starts warming up around here soon, and we can really start diving into some tractor stuff. You know, we've got, like I said, we've got Connor Super M is on the fringes of being back together. So you guys take care and don't do anything I wouldn't do, which should leave things pretty open. I mean, I did shove a screwdriver through my hand, so. But that's gonna be it for me. I'm hitting the end stream button. So, oh, actually, before we go, I'm gonna start working on the videos for my cousin's Peterbilt. He gave me a bunch of stuff today to work on, but they're not going to be on my channel. We're going to create a channel for him, and that stuff will go over there. But when we get the channel up and running and we start posting videos, I'll put a link in my community section so you guys can check it out if you're interested in seeing the progress on that 1985 Peterbilt 359 long hood. So, with that, I'm going to say goodnight. Stay tuned and take care. So, see you later, guys.